Dr. Reddy. I'm Anurakti Sharma and I want to welcome you to the AAS India series.
I'm Madhavi Reddy. I work in a state public university in Pune, Maharashtra, this western region of Maharashtra in India. I work in Department of Media and Communication Studies as a professor. Of course, my work is mainly on media, culture, and society. I teach modules on semiotics, introduction to media, and communication studies. I also teach the media research and all. Currently, my research interests are mainly I'm working on media archiving, especially those areas are fascinating because it's more from a cultural studies broadly. To date back to my interest, which actually kind of bloomed, rather, I can say, to work into the Asian studies is definitely my students. A lot of students, if you see the kind of research domains they actually enter into, are more towards now leaning towards the scholarship coming from Asia or Southeast Asia, or, for example, more from the Asian perspective compared to the European and American. I think it's a general trend. Even if you look at being a media studies scholar, I know the kind of a fandom, film studies, for example, all are definitely leading towards some Asian perspective compared to the European and American perspective, before. So my interest, in fact, started when students started actually pitching their ideas about how about doing a research related to this particular perspective compared to this. The borderless, South Asia, where we kind of researched about how media play a very, very crucial role in kind of looking at the refugees, especially the Rohingya Muslims who are coming from Bangladesh to India. So we were looking at the state especially takes a role in terms of depicting one and also presenting the state of affairs, especially about the refugee crisis. We looked at Bangladesh newspapers as well as Myanmar's newspapers and also Indian newspapers. What is the take on these three newspapers about one particular crisis? And it was a fascinating study to see how each government controls their media in terms of the narrative which was presented for these kind of a refugee crisis. Also, if you see, Anurakti, I feel it's also about the digitization which is happening all over. The kind of a scholarship which used to be available before through books or whatever the libraries we have is tremendously now have shifted to the digitized libraries, and therefore the access to the scholarship has become little more compared to our generation. The students are now able to access a lot of material related to the Asian countries, which was not used to be there before. One of my major project is on film archiving. I'm not typically doing a film archiving, but I'm looking at the materiality of the film. Instead of looking at just the 30 films or the digitized versions right now, how it is preserved by either Archives of India or any other institutionalized kind of a things. I'm looking at the material of a film. For example, the posters, the handmade posters of early 1940s, or the glass slides which are used for some kind of a publicity, song books, for example. A lot of material, some of them have actually gathered it as a nostalgia, or some of them might have, kept it as a private collectors, but still unable to preserve them. In layman terms, they can't really scientifically store them. It has to be, but they are, kind of a diminishing or degrading. So we need to actually bring in some awareness about these issues in terms of how do they either, deposit with the institutionalized archives, or if at all they want to have their material with them, how they can become accessible publicly so that the researchers can write about those kind of a material. So I'm working on specifically the preservation aspects of the materiality of Indian cinema. One of the advantage being in Indian and working in the Indian space is also the kind of a diversity we have. I come from, one of the state in Andhra Pradesh where Telugu speaking, but I work in Maharashtra, which is a Marathi speaking. So even to, connect the interdisciplinarity in terms of area studies or trans-regional studies, whatever you talk about, it is interesting and fascinating to look into how things are working in each state with each cultural ethos and each in a different and I think all of us know that every 200 meters the kind of a culture it changes in India is fascinating to any researcher to work with. So I work with now 3 to 4 languages since I'm familiar with Tamil, Telugu, and Marathi in the same research area, but I'm looking at 3 states in India. So I won't say it's a pan-Indian research project, but I'm covering the regional languages and the regional cultural ethos within this archiving project of mine. Challenges in the sense, see, it's very evident, and I think it's a very, very common disadvantage sometimes being in public universities. The funding for the research, for example, sometimes, it's also that few times the technology and science gets more elevation in terms of funds compared to the social sciences. And the second thing is also about the kind of departments where we work in are, I can put it as a teaching heavy departments than research heavy departments, because what happens is our primary task being a professor is to deliver the lectures in the classroom through teaching. So therefore, research becomes our second priority compared to the teaching. So on an average, you are, almost teaching 12 to 13 hours a week. It takes all of your time so that, less time is, there for you to research further. As a researcher, we do have a kind of a themes which comes through or which cuts through this Asian perspective. Especially one of my PhD student right now working on Korean pop culture, especially how the entire pop culture of it, fandom of it actually works in. See, the digital has, I think, I must talk about the pandemic here, where everyone has definitely realized the how important the digitality became post-pandemic, especially for media and communication, and also the screens in which we adopted to during the time. Everyone now knows how entire thing has been shifted. As an audiences we have changed, as a civilians we have changed, as a everything, as a voter we have changed, as a citizens we have changed after pandemic. So everywhere the technology and the digital kind of a communication have altered many ways of our behavior. And definitely media and communication, in even the AI, for example, are altering our spaces in terms of watching films, in terms of the creating content. Everything has become definitely, more rigorous. And also, I feel more crisp compared to the previous communication patterns. So our courses also in the department have moved now, or maybe I can say there is a very active restructuring done based on what kind of a courses have employability, what courses are more research, brings in more research rigor, what can actually make them to train more towards, the new communication patterns which are coming. So we have changed our syllabuses, we have introduced new modules, if, say, for example, instructional design, which was not there earlier, which we incorporated in terms of communication program is concerned. Process like big data, data analytics have introduced in the new, and also a lot of research now we move towards interdisciplinarity with the new education policy, which is coming up, or all of the Indian university have transformed their curriculum as per the policy of 2020 NEP. So there are changes, not just the digitization, but there are also some policies of education which made us now to think about doing interdisciplinarity and also going towards the trans-regional kind of a research that is more appreciated in the research circles even in India. We are also now moving. Earlier, everything was connected to certain kind of a area studies. Now we are more moving towards the regional spaces, the regional and also towards the transnational kind of a content. There is a lot of research, especially in sciences. There is a huge transnational kind of research is going on, and as I said, the digitization really helped us in connecting and all. I think it aggravated more post pandemic, because now academicians can also talk like this. The Zoom was never before post pandemic. Today what we are doing is also thanks to such period, whatever we have underwent, but it brought in some new things where we can connect with the world. So those are the things, like any other discipline, even communication discipline has revamped according to the new times. That's happening, and still it's more to come.
Yes, absolutely. Can't agree more. And do you have some advice for, students who are interested in the field of media studies and culture studies, something that they should, think about in the future, that you could give some advice?
I see, the advice is for all the students who pursue the course of media and communication is definitely, earlier they used to have a very niche kind of training that they are going to be in a production processes, so on. Some are going to write something, therefore they are in a journalism kind of a field. But if you see now, with the new AI tools coming in, writing became so difficult, because there is hardly any line between a content writing and a journalistic writing. We can't really make out whether it's a journalistic piece or whether it's a content written for some kind of a publicity. So you need to be very careful and also get that extra skills in terms of how do I become a good content writer with certain kind of a journalistic skills and also have certain production skills. So if in social media, definitely you need to be presenting yourself with certain kind of a content, also need to have certain kind of a skill. So earlier it was definitely for print media, electronic media and radio and all, but there are a lot of skills now needs to be connected with each other. Then you have an edge to actually put yourself in the place which is required for the future communication industries or media industries. So that's something which it's a advice from my generation to the current generation of media scholars.
Yes, thank you so much for that and for all your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure discussing my work with you, and Rikti. Thank you.
Thank you.